so I'll speak up. All right, well, good morning. How many, I'm going to get right into it because I'm told I do not have a lot of time. So I'm going to get right into the presentation. I'm going to ask by show of hands, how many of you are nervous, a little terrified, want to throw up or run away at the thought of public speaking? Raise your hand. Okay. Or it just makes you just very uncomfortable. All right. So today, my goal is to help you with that. Take the fear out of public speaking. Next slide. So we want to wake you up from your presentation nightmare. If you've ever had any bad experiences or you are shying away from speaking in public, my goal today is to help you with that. So the number one fear amongst people is public speaking, and that outranks death. So that means that you would rather most people would rather lie in the casket than give the eulogy. And that's a crazy thought to me because that's something that has never been a problem for me, public speaking. Since a child, I've always been comfortable with it. But the good news is, even if it's not comfortable for you, even if it doesn't come naturally to you, anybody can do it. You just need some simple fundamental tools. You need a little practice, and you too can do public speaking, believe it or not. So today I'm gonna share with you some fundamental, some really basic tools so that you can give a presentation where you are in your workplace, but these can be used anywhere, okay? So no matter where you are, you can use these tools to give a presentation. So what will you learn today? We're going to talk about the benefits. There are definitely benefits of giving presentations. What's in it for you? I'm going to let you know what's in it for you. Keys to giving an effective presentation. How do you do that? We're going to talk about use of body language and voice and how important that is in your presentation. How to organize it. So if you have the building blocks, that'll definitely help you. How to use PowerPoint appropriately, and tips on how to make it interesting so you're not putting your people to sleep. And I'll give you some tips on how to overcome your fears. Okay. All right, so why is it important to do presentations? You get to educate and inform your audience. You get to influence your audience. So maybe there's some way you want to share your ideas in order to sway someone a certain way, okay? Not manipulation, but maybe they thought one way, and when you get done, they get to think a different way. You get to position yourself as an expert. So it's something about getting in front of people with a presentation, talking, and people think you know what you're talking about. They look at you as an expert in what you're talking about. You don't have to really be an expert. You just look like one, okay? That's what's important. No, you want to know what you're talking about, but it positions you. So maybe you have a solution to a problem in your workplace that no one's ever thought about. Maybe you can change a culture. You can create something that you feel that will help the company, help your areas. So you can put a presentation together, ask whoever the authority is, hey, I have something I want to share with that person, your team leaders, or with the group. And it really helps you to present yourself in a professional way, and it can open doors for you in other areas. All right, so we're going to talk about keys to an effective presentation. If you don't know what you want to achieve in your presentation, your audience never will. So the first thing you want to think about is you want to begin with the end in mind. What do you want the audience to know? What do you want them to walk away with? How do you want them to feel at the end of the presentation? Okay? So these are the points to consider when you're planning. Who's your audience? Who are they? Are they management? Are they your peers? Are there people you're leading? That's going to tailor how the information that you share. Why are they there? Are they there because they have to be? They're forced to be there? And why is that important? Because you definitely want to make it interesting if people are coming because they have to be there, okay? Or are they volunteering to be there? Do they want to know something? Do they want to learn something specifically? What do they need to know? Or what do they want to know? How long do you have? That's very important because you want to stay within your time limit. Sometimes we try to give too much information and you don't have that amount of time to give that information. Where will it take place? Will it be a large room? Will it be a small room? Will you have a mic? Do they have audio visuals? Those are very important aspects to know because that's going to tailor how you do your presentation. Okay, next slide. So these are the fundamental structure of a presentation. If you have this is your building block, okay? This is how you structure it, and you just expand from there. Your introduction. You start with an introduction. Who you are, what you're going to talk about, okay? What are you going to learn? You tell the objectives, like I did. I let you know ahead of time what you're going to learn from this presentation. And then you have your main body, 3 to 5 points, maybe 7, about what you're going to talk about, your objectives. And then you're going to have your supporting points that support your objectives. So that can be statistics, that can be just information that you get to support what you're saying, that can be stories. So whatever you're saying, whatever your main points are, you're going to have something to support that. How do you know it's true? Where did you get it from? Okay? And then your conclusion. You're going to wrap up the points, give an end, something thought-provoking, something you want the audience to go away with at the end of your presentation. And you'll open up for questions. By the way, I forgot to say, at the end, we're going to have a few minutes for questions. So write it down, or keep it in your head, and I will open it up for questions. So remember, again, it's all about the audience. You want to focus on what the audience needs to know and not what you know. What does that mean? That means that sometimes we feel like we want to give people everything we got. We feel like we got to show people what we know, that how smart we are, or whatever. It's not about that. You always think about your audience, what the audience needs, what the audience wants to know. Not everything you know, okay? Because it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about who you're speaking to. And it's important to practice. I can't say enough about practice. Rehearse, rehearse. The more you practice, the more confident you will be. You will be prepared if you feel prepared. So practice out loud. I do this. I practice out loud at home. Practice in front of someone you trust that's going to tell you the truth and yet be encouraging, okay? And sometimes I even practice in my voice recorder on my phone. So I'll practice into that, and I'll go back and I'll listen to myself practicing what I'm going to say. So the more you practice, the more confident you'll be, and that will show forth when you're doing your presentation. Proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance. So I just want to really reiterate that. Don't wing it. Do not wing it, especially if you don't feel natural. Do not wing it because your audience will know if you're winging it, okay? Body language. This is so important. What people don't realize is that verbal communication is a very little part. I want to say 8%. I meant to look this up. So small part of communication. The major part of communication is nonverbal. I'm going to give you an example of this. If I say the sky is blue, so I can say the sky is blue. Then I can say the sky is blue. Or I can say the sky is blue. Or I can say the sky is blue. Do you see how I said the same thing gives forth a different meaning? It gives forth a different connotation. So the way you come across, the way your gestures, I tend to talk with my hands. You don't want to do it too much up here, but gesturing is good. Open body. You don't want to stand like this. Of course, you never want to stand with your back to the audience. And eye contact, okay? Not looking down at the floor, not looking up at the ceiling. You're looking around at your audience, okay? And voice. Has anybody ever been in a presentation and you're in the back of the room and you could not hear one thing the person was saying? Raise your hands if that has happened to you. Is that not the most annoying thing ever? That is so annoying. So you want to remember, don't speak to the front of the room. Speak to the back of the room. Project your voice. It's going to sound like you're talking loud. It will sound like you're talking loud. You don't want to scream. If you can, you want to speak from down here, not up here. But it's important to project your voice so that everybody in the room can hear you. And to speak clearly. If you are a mumbler, remember to move your mouth, okay? So that's another pet peeve. You can hear the person, but you don't understand the words coming out of their mouth. That's annoying. No one will get anything out of your presentation. So remember to open your mouth and speak clearly. And refrain from using filler words, if you can. As a member of Toastmasters, when we are doing presentations, we're doing our speeches, every time we use a filler word, which is so, you get a ding, you get a bell ring, and that makes you aware that I'm using filler words. It just kind of takes away from your presentation, and people start listening to how many you're doing, okay? You don't want to do that. Okay, next slide. All right, so we're going to talk about PowerPoint. And I love this when I found this. PowerPoint, a tool used by people who have neither power nor a point. PowerPoint is a powerful tool, and yet it can be overused and misused, okay? You don't want to be a person with not power and not a point. So I'm going to help you not commit death by PowerPoint today. All right, these are the things you do not want to do. I'm going to tell you some things to do when you're using PowerPoint. So you want to remember, a presentation is not PowerPoint. You are the presentation. What does that mean? A lot of times people feel like they got to put everything, go to the next slide. They want to feel like they want to put everything on the presentation. And then they're just the assistant to the presentation, the PowerPoint. This says, during today's presentation, I'll be reading my PowerPoint slides word for word. Assume your audience can read. No one needs you to read to them. This is not a bedtime story. We are just doing a presentation. You're the presentation. So you support, the PowerPoint supports you, not the other way around. So do not put all your text on the PowerPoint. First of all, nobody's going to be able to read all that. They're not going to listen to you and read at the same time, okay? So what happens is the prompts are for you as the presenter, and what happens, it helps the audience get the visual and the audio, okay? So they're just looking, and it's a support to what you're saying. So you want to have 5 to 7 bullet points on your slide at the most, and just do the prompts to help you remember what you're going to talk about. Slide. Font size. Make it big. Have you ever been in a PowerPoint presentation? Little bitty words, and you can't read it. So you're not writing it for you. You're writing it for the audience, okay? So this is just a general 32 points for titles and 20 points for body. Do you know anybody not understand what I mean by points? Don't be shy. I'll tell you anyway. Okay, good. You were honest. I like that. So, you know when you're on a Word document and you have the little numbers, the font size, that's what this is talking about. So you do the pull down and you'll have 8 to, I don't know, 40, 20. That's what the font size is. So that's how you change how big your letters are, okay? Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. You don't have to impress with a whole bunch of graphics and all kinds of stuff. Simple text. You want simple images and simple font. Nothing extravagant when you're doing a business presentation, okay? The simpler you keep it, the better. Again, because it's only supporting what you're saying. It's not the presentation. It's not the PowerPoint itself. Next slide. So we're going to put a little icing on the cake. You got the foundation. So now I'm going to talk about how to make your presentation a little bit just more interesting. Eye contact. So I talked about that before, but this is specifically, you want to pick out people to look at and to talk to, if you can, okay? Why is that? Because it really kind of draws in, and when I look at him, everybody's looking at me, okay? Now, if somebody doesn't want to look at you, don't try to look at them. Look at somebody who's looking at you. So don't try to make somebody look at you, right? Some people won't look at you. They'll look down, that's okay. But if somebody's making eye contact with you, you look at them and you talk to them. Then you find someone else to talk to, okay? So that's just a little tip there. Vocal range. You don't want to stand up here and say, okay, today I'm going to talk to you about, okay. You want to project your voice. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. It depends on what you're talking about. So just your vocal range, make it interesting. Involve the audience. Like I did, I said, show of hands. You can have people throw out things, ideas. What do you think this means? What do you think that means? So you can get people to speak back to you, okay? Involve your audience, and that now you make sure people are listening, right? It makes them feel like they're a part of your presentation. You can tell stories. They need to be appropriate to what you're talking about, okay? Just don't tell a random story that nobody cares about, but it needs to go with what you're talking about. So if you have a point, you can tell us your story or someone else's story to just kind of bring home what you're talking about, because people remember stories, okay? Managing your fear, all right? So if you're still feeling a little scared about it, I'm just going to give you some tips about how to manage your fear. One is getting there early to your presentation, getting there before at least 30 minutes early. Make sure there's no troubleshooting. Make sure you have everything. So that'll help you. Just taking deep breaths. If you feel nervous, it's okay to be nervous. I get nervous when I speak. Taking deep breaths. Visualizing. Oh, I can't tell you how important and powerful visualization is. The night before or I do it at least twice, but at least the night before, the day of, just close your eyes and visualize. You can do it 3 to 5 minutes tops. Visualize yourself up in front of the people. Visualize yourself rocking it out. Visualize the people listening to you, loving everything you're saying, thinking you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that will help you. That will really help you in your performance, okay? And just focus on your goals. What are you there for? It's not about you. Focus on what it is, the value you want to give to your audience. So just a recap, keys to remember: make your audience your main focus. What do they want to know? What do they want to learn? Okay? Structure, prepare with the structure that I gave you. Practice, practice, practice. Be energetic and interesting, and keep it simple. It's my final thought. Your audience doesn't want you to be perfect. They just want you to be present. A lot of times we feel like we're being judged. What if I mess up? It doesn't matter. If you can just be present, if you can care about what you're talking about, or at least care about the people you're talking to, and be prepared, that will take you a long, long way. Thank you for listening.